military drill to prepare for a possible U.S. invasion. Governor Luis Caldera is leading a military exercise alongside regional armed forces to train troops and civilians for a possible U.S. attack on national territory. The drill includes the deployment of military vehicles, anti-aircraft batteries and defense coordination meetings. This comes as U.S. President Donald Trump has halted diplomatic outreach efforts with Venezuela, instructing his special envoy Richard Grenell to cease all negotiations. Tensions between the United States and Venezuela have been intensifying as Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has refuted U.S. accusations that Venezuela is involved in drug production and is alleging that Washington is seeking to oust him from power. Shifting focus to Japan, Japan's biggest opposition party, the Constitutional Democratic Party of Japan, will now seek to support a unified candidate with other groups in a bid to block Sanae Takaichi's election as Prime Minister. Meanwhile, Komeito has quit its 26-year alliance with the ruling Liberal Democratic Party, putting in peril Takaichi's bid to become the country's first woman premier. Conservative Takaichi was elected as the new LDP president a week ago, but needs the approval of the parliament to secure the top job. Komeito's decision to quit the alliance that has governed Japan almost uninterrupted for 25 years has now sunk Japan into a new political crisis. With us on the broadcast is Dr. Tomohiko Taniguchi, former advisor to late Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, joining us from Tokyo. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX World. Now, was Komeito's decision to end its 26-year alliance with the LDP anticipated, or has it come out of the blue?
It's come clearly out of the blue for some of those leaders within the LDP. Listen, as a member of the conservative LDP's cabinet, the leader of Komeito has always been able to exercise its veto power to some of those contentious issues that LDP has wanted to pursue. Rather than choosing that conventional path, Komeito has chosen to opt out and clearly intended to break the now forming Takaichi administration. So it's an uncharted territory. Rumors have been rampant, including one that would say that it would be Komeito's leader, Mr. Saito, who wishes to become prime minister. And technically there is a chance for him to make it if there would be broad coalition across many middle and small-sized opposition parties.
Indeed, and in your assessment, what motivated Komeito to break away suddenly? And there are, of course, questions looming whether they will align with the opposition, or is that unlikely considering their stance on social issues?
Fault lines are many in number among those opposition parties. So it would be extremely difficult for those parties to unify themselves and choose one single candidate as a candidate for prime minister. The motivations that drive Komeito to do this very much unusual decision are anyone's guess, but some cite that a couple of days before the meeting between the two leaders, Sanae Takaichi and Tetsuo Saito, LDP and Komeito leaders, on the 6th of this month, there was a meeting between Mr. Saito, head of the Komeito, and Japan-based ambassador of the People's Republic of China. Chinese ambassador went to the parliamentary premises and met Mr. Saito. What they discussed, of course, is not revealed, but going forward, there must be investigations on what Mr. Saito pledged or did not pledge to the ambassador from China. Clearly, this is an exercise of influence operations on the side of the Chinese.
And speaking of the opposition at large, will their strategy of uniting behind a single candidate materialize? Will it work?
I am saying that technically it's a possibility, but the fault line between the biggest and the second biggest opposition parties is deep and wide. The point that Chief Secretary of the second largest opposition party has been mentioning a number of times. So it is unlikely for the biggest and the second biggest opposition parties to form a coalition, but there is another chance that the biggest opposition party could put together middle and small opposition parties and Komeito to form a thin majority, very thin, by a single vote or a couple votes over the LDP-led coalition.
You've informed us that the leader of Komeito met with the Chinese ambassador just a while back. Are people in Japan largely aware of this? If so, what's the reaction been like on social media?
One of the largest newspapers, Yomiuri, has reported it. So it's out of social media sphere, and it's been sort of recognized by the legacy media as well. People are anxious, but they're not so much surprised because 6 months ago, in April this year, the same leader of the Komeito led a delegation and went to Beijing and spent a couple days there to consolidate the long-standing relationship, very much friendly relationship between Komeito and the Chinese Communist Party. Indeed, many members of the Komeito have been rather proud of their track record as having worked as a bridge builder between China and Japan.
If there are concerns of interference and these are taken up as well, then who exactly will be investigating this matter?
There is no such law, which is itself a problem, that would allow Japanese prosecutor's office or police agency to look into that case. So it's incumbent upon investigative journalism.
And what internal challenges do you think the LDP faces now without the support of Komeito, especially with Sanae Takaichi as its new leader?
Long run, I think Ms. Takaichi and her colleagues have been strengthening their will to win over those opposition parties. But in order for them to do that, Ms. Takaichi must find an opportune time to dissolve the lower house and call for snap elections and win decisively the snap elections for the House of Representatives, meaning lower house. But in the meantime, Takaichi administration, if Takaichi has been chosen as prime minister, she will have to show to the public and to her own colleagues that she could deliver some of the urgent economic packages. So that itself is a challenge because the LDP-led coalition is going to still maintain very much a thin majority in the lower house and as well as in the upper house. Remember that unlike in some other countries like India, Japanese upper house is very much a powerful veto entity.
And speaking of policies, how could the end of this long-standing alliance now influence policy making in the near future?
Well, it'll take extremely careful handling, to say the least, on the part of the Japanese government's leaders, including Ms. Takaichi, because everything is going to be on an ad hoc, temporary basis. Very few things will be stable. So stability that has maintained the LDP-led administration for 25 years has now gone. And so it's almost always like shooting a moving target on the part of the LDP. on the part of the Japanese government.
Indeed, you've mentioned that the stability has gone, and my last and final question, could this political rupture then lead to some sort of realignment within Japan's party system, or is it a temporary disruption?
Even in order to secure premiership, Ms. Takaichi, for the next couple of days, has to work extra hard to see whether the LDP could form another set of coalitions by putting together one or two smaller opposition parties. So it's going to be always like that. On an ad hoc basis, you must seek a partial alliance here and another on different issue and so on, so forth. It's a continued really bumping road, if you like, going forward.
All right, sir. With that, I would like to thank you for taking out time, sharing your insights with us on NewsX World. Meanwhile, viewers, public sentiment appears largely supportive of the move in Japan, with many stating that the alliance outlived its purpose. Some have worried in the meantime that the breakup could bring uncertainty at a very sensitive, delicate moment for Japan, as the country is preparing for key diplomatic meetings and a possible visit by US President Donald Trump later this month. Listen in to what some of the residents have had to say.
公明党と一緒になって何十年 ?25 年すごい長い年月だから、もうちょっと変な話、腐れみたいになっちゃってて、なんかみんな妥協してずるずる来たけれども、やっぱり根本的な考え方全然違うから一緒にいるべきじゃないと私は思います。
変わるかがこう見えてるわけじゃないので、そういうその分からないことに関しての不安とかはあるんですけど、ただ新しく変わるだろうなっていうことに関しては結構期待をしている気持ちが大きいですね。
そもそも連日自体が平成11年、私がまだ生まれてない時からずっと続いてきたものなので、その体制を壊したっていうのは、今まで連日政権だった安定だとかそういう部分もある一方で、これからどうなるのか結構興味があるような興味が湧くような感じになったなと思っています。これ今までの安定が連日政権の崩壊、これから新しい時代になる、新しい時代にどう影響していくのかなと思っています。
All right, viewers, with that we shift our focus to further developments coming in, this time from North Korea. North Korean President Kim Jong-un has held a meeting with former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev in Pyongyang. He has stated that the sacrifice of North Korean soldiers fighting for Russia in its military campaign in Ukraine has proved the trust in the bilateral relations between the two countries. Kim has told Medvedev that he hopes to continue strengthening cooperation with Russia and to closely engage in diverse exchanges in order to achieve common goals. Russian delegation led by Medvedev arrived in Pyongyang on the 9th of October to take part in the celebrations of the 80th founding anniversary of the Workers' Party of Korea.